If you're going on a cruise, you might be tempted to bid for a cabin upgrade as a way to save money and potentially have a better experience on your cruise. However, there are some important do's and don'ts to know, as well as some mistakes that you'll want to avoid. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, have you ever thought of bidding for a cabin upgrade on a cruise? Now, something that I realized recently is that it isn't necessarily obvious exactly how this works. And I recently did hear from a viewer who told me, unfortunately, of her situation, and it looks like she did make a very costly mistake. Now, that being said, bidding for a cabin upgrade is a popular way to save money on a cruise and potentially get a better cabin location and experience. Now, in this video, I'm going to share everything that you'll want to know about the cabin upgrade process so that you can make sure that this works for you. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Understanding the basics of how bidding for a cruise ship cabin works. Now, many different cruise lines, from Royal Caribbean to Norwegian Cruise Line to MSC Cruises to Princess Cruises, have in recent years introduced cabin upgrade bidding systems. Now, these programs allow passengers to place a bid for a better cabin category, which may be accepted if there is availability. Now, it's essential to understand how these programs work and their specific rules before you bid. Now, while all cruise lines have a lot of similarities to these programs, there can be some differences, so it really is important when you do place your bid that you do take a look at the terms and conditions. Timing your bid. Now, you might be wondering, how do you bid for a cruise ship cabin upgrade? Well, typically you're going to receive an email a few weeks or even sometimes a few months before your cruise, and it is going to be an invitation to bid for certain cabin categories. Now, if you think that you do want to bid for a cabin upgrade, it's a good idea to place your bid as soon as you do get that invitation. Now, if you don't receive an invitation, you can check as well on the cruise line website. Setting a realistic budget for your cabin upgrade. Now, one thing that you don't want to do is overbid on your upgrade. It can be really exciting to see that perhaps you can get an upgrade for an inside to an ocean view cabin, or a balcony cabin, or a balcony cabin to a suite. But you do want to make sure that you're bidding the amount that you feel comfortable with paying for that better cabin. Do a price check. So here's a little bit of a tip. Before you place your bid for that cabin upgrade, take a look at the time that you're making this bid. What would that cabin cost you if you were booking that cabin right now? In this way, you are not going to place a bid that is higher than you would pay if you simply called up the cruise line or your travel agent and you upgraded on your own. Can you underbid for a cabin? Now, while some people have said that they've actually bid the lowest amount and they've still received a cabin upgrade, if you are booked on a cruise that is maybe during high season, or you just know that that cruise ship will likely be sailing full, then it's a good idea to bid a little bit higher than the lowest amount, especially if you have calculated what the cabin would cost you if you were booking it now. Using the sliding scale. So when you are placing your bid, you're going to see that there is a sliding scale from what is called a weak bid to a strong bid. So you can use that as a little bit of a guide when you are placing your bid. Evaluating your cabin categories and the potential amenities that come with them. So something that you do want to calculate, especially if you're going into those higher cabin categories, is what kind of perks or amenities do come with that cabin. So maybe you are paying an additional amount. You are, of course, but you do want to see if there are some amenities that really have some value. You do want to take that into account when you are placing your bid. Placing multiple bids strategically. Now, some people do wonder, can I place multiple bids? And you definitely can. So if you're in an ocean view cabin, you can place a bid for a balcony cabin. But if you also think, you know what, if I can get that suite or that mini suite, I want that as well, you can bid on multiple cabins and then just see what happens. How does the cost work when you are bidding for an upgrade? Now, this is something really important to know, and this is one area that some people can make some costly mistakes. So first thing that you want to know is that the price for the bid is going to be over and above the amount that you've already spent on your cabins. So for instance, if you've already paid $1,000 per person for your cabin and you bid an additional $800 for a cabin upgrade, then if it does get accepted, it is going to cost you $1,800 per person for that cabin. So that is something that you should know. As well, the price is for the first 2 passengers in the cabin. So that could be good news if you're 3 or 4 people in the cabin. You're only going to pay the upgrade fee for the first 2 people. Now, where this can get tricky, and it does trip some people up, is for instance, if you've booked a cabin that is, for example, $2,000 and then you see an upgrade for $2,400, perhaps you might think that $2,400 is inclusive of the $2,000, but it is not. So that is part of the terms and conditions, and if you do read that, you will see it there, but it really is something to be aware of. When will your bid be accepted, and how will you know? Well, you can monitor your bid status, and if your bid is accepted, you will usually get an email. Now that can happen all the way up until the day of sailing. So that does have the potential to happen. But typically a lot of people say that they do receive an email, in the few days to even sometimes a few weeks before the cruise, depending on the type of cabin that they are bidding for. Now, if you've bid for a cabin before, please let me know when you were informed that you did receive your bid. Now, I am going to answer some frequently asked questions, and I do also want to share who I think should not take part in these cabin upgrade bidding programs. So can you cancel your bid once it has been accepted? So no, once you make your bid, you'll actually have to put in your credit card number and all of the information for your cabin upgrade. And if it is accepted, your credit card will be charged automatically. Now, the other thing to know as well is if you've already chosen a cabin, well, what happens when you do get a cabin upgrade is the cruise line is going to place you in that cabin, but you are not going to have a choice as to where that cabin is located. What happens if your bid is not accepted and you put your credit card number in there? Well, nothing happens at all. Your credit card will not be charged and you will still remain in the same cabin that you have chosen. Now, some people ask if I have cruise credits or onboard credits, can I just use that to bid for an upgrade? Well, no, typically you're not able to. You do have to use your credit card to pay for that upgrade. Now, personally, I like the cabin upgrade programs, but I also am somebody who does sometimes book a guarantee cabin. So I'm not particularly picky as to where my cabin location is, especially if I can get an upgrade. But not everybody feels the same way. So who is the cabin upgrade program not for? Well, basically anybody who does really want a specific cabin or a specific cabin location. So if something that might really annoy you is not being between 2 passenger decks, so in other words, having potential noise from above or below you, that is something that you just won't have control over if you do participate in the cabin upgrade program. Anybody who needs adjoining or connecting cabins. So if you are cruising with other people, so for instance, if you're cruising with your children or even friends and you want to stay close together, if you do get that upgrade, it is not guaranteed that the other cabin will get that upgrade as well. So then you're probably best off sticking with the cabins that you've booked with. If you need an accessible cabin or you have a lot of special requests, if that's the case, you're really better off having more control over your booking and choosing your cabin. Budget conscious cruisers. Now, this might go without saying, but if you're cruising on a budget, why not just use the money instead of for a cabin upgrade for excursions or for a drink package or to have a special experience on the cruise? Anyone who is happy with their current cabin, if you already have the cabin location that you like, if you already have the cabin category that you like, when you do participate in these cabin upgrade programs, in a sense, you're gambling. And if you're okay with that, that is great. But if you're going to be potentially unhappy with your cabin, it probably just isn't worth it. Now, please let me know if you have any other questions about this, but as well, if you have participated in the cabin upgrade program, please let me know your successes down in the comments below. Any tips that you have, and if you've had any negative experiences, please share that as well, because I know that that will help other people. Now, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now, and happy cruising.